there's a lot of MMA stuff to talk about. What do we want to do before I totally go off the spectrum and say something stupid?
No, it's okay. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, UFC Boston this weekend, so let's talk about that. I'd say open up with that. I ended up being able to watch the main event, co-main event. I didn't realize it was Friday night until the event was just about starting. I don't know what the hell happened where I was disconnected from the fact that this was happening on Friday night and not Saturday. My head was just up my ass. So luckily, I had some time to check out the co-main and main event. Depending on where you want to start, I mean, I think starting on the main event would probably make the most sense.
Yeah.
But that's up to you.
Yeah, no, for sure. We'll start at the main event. That's the big attraction. The Friday made a nice little change. It did. I enjoyed that. Probably because I had surgery on the Thursday, and I definitely wasn't leaving the house on the Friday. And I was like, oh, shit, this is perfect. Got the pre-fight show, got the prelims, the main card. I'm like, okay, my entertainment for the day is taken care of. Main event, Chris Weidman, Dominic Reyes. Oh, man. I mean, where do you start? I mean, it's a real shame. Well, there's two sides of the coin. There always is. That's the brutal thing about fight sports. You know, it's the most amazing sport, and it's the cruelest sport at the same time. Dominic Reyes left there on top of the world. Probably got performance of the night. I'm not sure, although he definitely deserved it. Still undefeated, cementing his place as a contender. Won't have had a scratch on him. Got a beautiful knockout of a former world champion. And then on the flip side, you got Chris Weidman. You know, he was there trying to reinvent himself, just much like Jacare, much like Luke Rockhold. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. But I think 5 of his last 6 fights now, he's been knocked out, unconscious, and it was quick. I mean, Chris went in. The game plan was obvious early. He shot in a beautiful double leg. It was a really, really nice double leg entry. He got inside, and he managed to get Dominic down for a second. But the good news for Dominic is that he could say, listen, I was able to get back to my feet. I worked back to my feet, and then I knocked him out. I didn't just catch you. You implemented your game plan for a second. You were able to secure a takedown, get me down, and I was able to get back to my feet and still knock you out. You know, so yeah, no surprises seeing an absolute crushing defeat for Chris Weidman. Has there been any in the media yet? I mean, has he commented? Harrington, has he spoke to Ariel Helwani, his good buddy? Has he said if he's leaning towards retirement or what?
He said he was going to consider all things, but he did say that he would be back. And initially,
all things, right he's considering a move to heavyweight. Really? No.
No, I mean the biggest thing he had coming out of it was, the sport is tough sometimes, but I will be back better than ever.
Well, look, Weidman, he's great. It's undeniable. Weidman's great, but when you sort of look at Weidman's trajectory, I think it was a timing thing, dude. It just looked great, dude. And when you even consider what happened with Anderson Silva, right? Even both those Anderson Silva losses, or I'm sorry, those wins, there's question marks there. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was winning the fights both times, but Anderson Silva was fucking around in that first fight. He got knocked out. He broke his leg in that second fight. But sort of after that, Weidman started having some real trouble. I think he beat Lyoto Machida, which just isn't as impressive now that you sort of look back. But I think we sort of put a lot of stock in Weidman being that dude, and a move up to light heavyweight after coming off a few tough losses at middleweight against an undefeated guy who's really long, really physically gifted. I mean, yeah, there was not much of a path to victory there for him.
So the thing is, and I didn't want to use this occasion to take a dump on Chris Weidman, but you bring something up there. You talked about his trajectory, his run to the title and things like that. And I was always critical of it, to be honest, because I was out there in the UFC since 2006, fighting all comers, fucking, you know what I mean, main events, co-main events, taking on hard fights, all the rest of it. And he came into the UFC and he got a title shot really, really quickly. I think he sat on the sidelines for almost 18 months and then got a title shot after sitting on the sidelines for a while, as I said. So I was always critical of that. And me and Chris, because of that, we did go back and forth in the media and whatnot. Now I'm retired. You know, I have nothing against Chris. I wish him the best. Him and his team, they're all great people. But to my point, he made his debut against Alicia Sakara. He wasn't a bad opponent back in the day. Then he beat a guy called, it was the great Jesse Bongfeld. I mean, Jesse Bongfeld. Then he beat Tom Lawler. again, respectable win, to be honest. And then it was Damian Maia and Martin Munoz. Damian Maia, Martin Munoz, decent wins. You can't hate on that. And then he was out for a while, and then it was Anderson Silva. But as you said, the win against Anderson was very, it was like, because Anderson was dicking around, you know what I mean? And he caught him with that shot. Had he not been dicking around, would that have still happened? That's always the question. So, of course, they did a rematch. And even the rematch ended like that. He snapped his leg. We all saw what happened. But to be fair, he then went and defended against Machida, which was great. And then he beat Vitor. But Vitor was not the Vitor that head kicks me in the head. Vitor looked like an old-age pensioner. So, and then he went on this current losing streak, which is a shame. I think it's more to do with the greatness of Dominic Reyes than it is the inability of Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman's still a great fighter, still very big. He's been around for a long time. He's got skills, but the reality is that I hate this expression, father time, but the body clock catches up with everybody. Simple as that. And how old is he now? Let's have a look. Let's go up to the top here.
I don't think he's that old.
35 years old. It's not that old. But when you've lost 5 of your last 6 by knockout, if that was me, everybody around me would be telling me to retire. I know that. If I'd have lost 5 of my last 6 by knockout.
You won the title. You won the title, and everyone around you was telling you to retire.
That's true. I was like in my prime, in my heyday, it was like, Mike, retire. Fuck me. If I'd have lost one fight, Mike, you need to retire. 4 knockouts in a row. They're like, Mike, we're going to kill you if you continue to fight. I reckon by the time I got to 6, Rebecca would have left me. Paradigm Sports Management would have blocked me on all social media accounts, So yeah, maybe it's the time.
That's so funny when you put it that way. It's like, dude, yeah, you lose 5 out of 6. You think maybe it's time? You haven't had a fucking credible win since Mark Munoz in 2004? I don't know.
The problem is, of course, it's very attractive. The money, the lifestyle, all that type of stuff. And when you're young enough and you feel you can still do it, you still want to do it. I mean, excuse me. I was watching, it came up on YouTube, Adam Carolla interviewing Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell.
And my 2 favorite people. Love them both.
Your 2 favorite people. I know you do, yeah. But Chuck Liddell was talking on it, and he can hardly string a sentence together. God bless him. I'm not saying I have nothing but respect for the Iceman, but no, I shouldn't say it like that, but talking is a little bit of a challenge for him these days because he's stuck around so long. He certainly shouldn't have taken that last Tito fight. And you got to think Chris Weidman, 35 years old. He's a smart guy. He's got other options. He's 35 years old. He can still reinvent himself as something completely new and different. I would say now's the time. But only he can make that decision.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and he's such a name in the sport. Look, I don't like, and it came from doing the show with you, because before I did the show with you, the radio show, podcast, everything, I used to speak much more like it's one of these couch fans, what do they call them, armchair warriors, whatever it is. You just sort of be like, yeah, he needs to retire, he needs to go. It's like, I'm a little closer to it now, and I watch what happened with your retirement and your trajectory winning the title, and I see exactly how human it is and what's going on behind the scenes in the family, and there's a lot of other shit. So I have a hard time saying that a guy should retire. But if you're just being objective, at what point do you say, Weidman, every time you lose, you're sort of shaving off some more of that legacy. There's value in you being the guy who beat Anderson Silva twice, value in you being the guy who won the UFC middleweight title. But we have fair weather fans, and, the further we get away from that, your legacy is being eroded, and the value afterwards, owning a gym, training, creating a team, whatever it is, that value also erodes.
Yeah, absolutely. These medications drive me crazy because I had a really good point and now it's completely escaped me.
You're just seeing little horns on my head.
What was that? No, the demon's back. He's running up the street again. No. Oh, yeah. There's always going to be value in that. There's always going to be value in the fact that he was the former world champion. He defended the belt multiple times. That's an amazing feat. But what does happen, which is also a sad reality of the fight game, the more you lose, the more that goes in the rearview mirror. The more that becomes less of the story, and the story becomes a guy that stuck around for too long, continuing to get knocked out. That's unfortunate. This sport's what have you done for me lately? You know, unless you have a great career and you win the belt and you retire shortly after and you maybe put in the Hall of Fame and everyone adores you, you know, if you could pull that off somehow, then maybe that's how you'll be remembered. But if you're just getting knocked out all the time, unfortunately, MMA fans are kind of fair-weathered. And then also, when you're trying to, you know, parlay a fight career into entertainment outside of the UFC, acting, hosting, whatever it is, you know, if you're the guy that they just know for getting knocked out all the time, it's not that sexy. You know what I mean? But anyway, I wish Chris the best of luck in whatever he chooses to do. He's a great guy, even though he posts some fucked up pictures about my eyes back in the day. I got a lot of respect for him and his family. I wish them all the best. But we're going to talk about Dominic Reyes real quick, because here's the thing. A lot of people think it's a good idea to move up in weight. I think, you know, Conor moved up a weight class and won the belt, made it look easy. DC went up a weight class and knocked out Stipe, made it look easy. Everyone's thinking, oh, I'm just going to jump up a weight class. This is easy, because, in fact, that is my actual weight class because I'm not cutting weight. But you got to remember, they're also cutting weight and they do hit harder. They have more power. They are stronger, you know, and they definitely hit harder. And that was clearly evident. I mean, you never normally see Weidman get knocked out like that. Yes, he got stopped against Jacare in his last fight, but that was the end of the third round in an absolute slugfest back and forth battle. That was the first clean left hand. Boom, put him away. You know, so
and also, I mean, he's so
Reyes is the real fucking deal.